Hello everybody, this is Con, and for the third time I'm reviewing the Mazda CX-5. Okay, and this time I am reviewing the top spec 2.2 diesel all-wheel drive. Okay, now previously I've reviewed the CX-5 2.2 diesel front-wheel drive. Okay, I've also reviewed the 2.0 petrol GL front-wheel drive. Okay, in both videos I concluded that although the 2.0 petrol are the best value for money options, the 2.2 diesel all-wheel drive is the one that you really want to go for if you want the best of what the Mazda CX-5 has to offer. Plainly because you get the superior torque of the 2.2 liter diesel engine, but it is spread over the traction of four wheels. So the 2.2 diesel front-wheel drive is pokey enough, but sometimes the front-wheel drive setup can feel a little overwhelmed by 420 Newton meters of torque. So with all-wheel drive, that balances out. But of course, prior to this, I was speaking from speculation. Having driven this car for a few days, I now am able to give you a definitive remark on whether or not that is the case. Right, so having already done the walk around whilst reviewing the 2.0 petrol and as well as the 2.2 diesel front-wheel drive, I'm skipping that for this car because equipment-wise, this car and the diesel front-wheel drive model exactly the same. Okay, the only difference really is this car has a prop shaft that sends traction to the rear wheels. The front-wheel drive model does not. Price difference, 10,000 ringgit. So 155,000 ringgit without GST and SST for the diesel front-wheel drive, 165,000 ringgit for all-wheel drive. So you may think of 10,000 ringgit as a lot of money, and it is, but in percentage terms, it is only a 6% increase from the front-wheel drive model. And when you translate it to monthly repayment terms, okay, if you are paying say 2,000 ringgit a month, the diesel all-wheel drive is merely an extra 120 ringgit a month, and that, in all honesty, is a leap that I highly recommend that you make. Well, to recap a bit of history, right? The CX-5, the first generation CX-5, was one of the first SUVs, okay, that really got the handling right for the front-wheel drive versions, okay, in the sense that it was one of the first SUVs that felt like, you know, the chassis was developed with front-wheel drive in mind. At the time when the first CX-5 was launched, okay, there were front-wheel drive SUVs in the market, but they feel like, you know, it was just the manufacturer developed them as an afterthought by lobbing off the prop shaft to the rear of the all-wheel drive version, and that's it. Now here's the front-wheel drive model. But the CX-5 really felt like, you know, it was developed from the onset with front-wheel drive in mind, and as a result, its handling felt pretty tidy. But tidy handling or not, there is no getting around the laws of physics. Okay, when you have 420 Newton meters churning out from a diesel engine, two wheels, it can get quite overwhelming for them. So with the diesel front-wheel drive model, that car is hilariously easy to wheel spin, even in the dry. So if for whatever reason you must have your CX-5 2.2 diesel in front-wheel drive configuration, do yourself a favor, take that 10,000 ringgit you saved from not buying this one and spend it on a good set of tires, yeah? Because they will come in very, very handy, especially in the wet. So besides the added sense of security, okay, on poor weather conditions, the CX-5 also gives you an added sense of balance, particularly when you corner. So let's say when you hurl this thing around a bend and you put your power down at the apex, you get the feeling of the rear squatting down as well and pushing the car out of the apex together with you. And that adds to an overall sense of balance that you simply don't get with the front-wheel drive model. In fact, even when if you were to go full acceleration on a straight line, you feel that the car just simply puts all the full might of the engine more effectively on the ground simply by distributing the engine's monstrous torque over 4 wheels rather than just 2. Now, in the petrol engines, this is not a major problem, because the petrol engines, they have a very linear build-up in torque. So even with front-wheel drive, they are pretty okay. And in fact, for the petrol engines, front-wheel drive may even be desirable, because the front-wheel drive train is lighter, and when you have when your engine gives you very linear outputs, front-wheel drive actually gives you a tad more agility, because you have much reduced drive line weight. So where the CX-5 is concerned, petrol models, front-wheel drive, pretty okay. Diesel, all-wheel drive is highly recommended. Now, worth repeating also with regards to this car is the charm of this diesel engine. Normally, we do not associate the phrases "loves to rev" and diesel engine in the same sentence. The Mazda SkyActiv-D changes that entirely. This is a diesel engine that loves to be caned. Let me show you. It pulls the revs with such relish that, you know, when road conditions permit, right, there are times that you just feel like you just simply want to gun the throttle and not let it go, because it revs with the kind of smoothness that would rival many of the smoothest petrol engines around. And I think I've said this before, when it comes to approximating the character of a petrol engine, Mazda SkyActiv-D comes closest amongst diesel engines, but that also comes with a price, because it also very closely approximates the fuel consumption of a petrol engine. 12.8 liters per 100 kilometer is being shown here on the trip computer after 200 kilometers of town driving and 600 kilometers of highway driving, which for most petrol engines, that's wow, you know, you'll be very, very pleased with that amount. But for a diesel engine, that is just pretty much so-so. To put things into perspective, right, a BMW 320D would cover the distance from KL to Penang and back without needing to refuel, even if you were to hold high speeds of 150, 160 kilometers per hour. With the Mazda diesel, can't do. I've tried it with the Mazda 6, I've tried it with the CX-5 here, can't do it. Even with modest driving, modest throttle outputs, can't do. Okay, but of course, as I said, the flip side is that this engine has a very, very smooth build-up. So it does have the torque that you associate with a diesel engine, but it is fed more smoothly. You know, you don't get a sudden punch in the gut like you would in a BMW 20D. This one really, the torque is really spread across the rev range, so you can really rev this engine with a lot of delight. And of course, the other thing about Mazda's SkyActiv-D engine, the main reason why this engine is not as economical as a BMW 20D diesel engine is that it is a very clean engine. So Mazda made a conscious decision to sacrifice the fuel economy of its diesel engines in exchange for better smoothness, better refinement, okay, because this is a very low compression diesel engine, 14 compression ratio to 1, and low particulate emissions. Okay, because the Mazda SkyActiv-D meets European emission regs without the need of a particulate filter, and that is something. So means that the engine itself is so clean you don't need a filter to take away any of the nonsense. It is already clean by nature, and it is why, right, if you were to stand behind, say, a Toyota Hilux or a Ford Ranger or any of the diesel pickups, or if you stand behind a BMW 320D or 520D or a Mercedes E300 Blue Tech Hybrid, you get that smell of the diesel soot. With the CX-5 diesel or the Mazda's, or any of Mazda's diesel for that matter, you don't get that. You stand behind it, you hear the clatter of the diesel engine, but you don't smell the typical diesel fumes, right? So that itself is something. And you know, yes, those of you who buy diesel cars for the fuel economy may be a bit disappointed by that, but at least you know what you are paying for. All right, yeah. So that concludes my thoughts on the Mazda CX-5 diesel. So it really brings me back to the same conclusion that I made earlier. If you are looking for if you are buying the CX-5, okay, the ones to go for is to me it is a choice between the 2.0 petrol GLS, okay, if you are looking for a good value proposition, or this one, the 2.2 diesel all-wheel drive, if you want the best of what the CX-5 has to offer. Yeah. So of course, this really is the best choice lah. Okay, so hope you enjoyed this video. Share with me your thoughts in the comment section below. Do subscribe my videos if you like watching, and until my next video, thanks for watching. Bye for now.